Okay. There we go. So now we can get going. I can let people in as they come along, and we can go from there.
Well, awesome. Do you want to introduce yourself first, Bill, and then I'll go after you?
Yeah. So my name is Bill Hinton. I'm the director of YMCA Camp Hayo-Went-Ha on Torch Lake. I have been the director for just about a year, but I've been a parent for 7 years. So I've been connected to Hayo-Went-Ha and think the world of it. And I also have been running YMCA camps for over 20 years. So that is so I've got lots of experience running camp, which is important. Okay, Amanda, you're up.
Awesome, my turn. Well, hi everyone. My name's Amanda Macaluso. I am the Girls Camp Director. I've been a part of Hayo-Went-Ha camps and the staff since 1993 when I was a counselor, and I am excited to be back this summer for my 31st year. Don't add up how old I might be.
Great. So one of the things that we are a YMCA camp, and we have some core values we call them they're richer. It's not really, we're trying to make life richer. It's not spelled right, but it gets all of our values of respect, inclusion, caring, honesty, teamwork, environmental stewardship, and responsibility. And it can all be summed up into our motto, each for all and all for each. And any of those campers that have been here in the past will know the ladle story. If you're new, you'll get to hear the ladle story, which is pretty awesome. And we use our wilderness trips and our in-camp activities as vehicles to teach these YMCA values. So lots of ways to build better people.
So camp is just full of history. Both camps have been in operation for over 100 years. Torch Lake, the boys camp was established in 1904 and the girls camp in 1914. The YMCA purchased the girls camp in 1993. So it had a little bit of a change of programming in 1993, but it's still been a camp for over 100 years. We just really love the fact that there have just been generations of camper families over the years. I know some mums that were at camp and now their kiddos are coming to camp. So it's really neat to have that longevity and that those traditions. And we recognize at both camps our 5th year, which is why I mentioned Kate earlier on. Kate's going to get one of our Silver Moons to recognize her 5th year. And at the boys camp, they have a great tradition too of putting their names in the boathouse once they've done the full 5 years at camp. So yeah, lots of rich traditions at camp that we're eager to share with you.
So we are a camp unplugged. So no cell phones, no switches, no, we don't want, we want to have that disconnect. And one of the really neat things is, campers start to feel a sense of acceptance, a safe community to establish relationships with peers face to face, and a period of time being unplugged actually resets some of your brain chemistry, and it's a good thing to happen on a yearly basis. So to have 2 weeks or a month without your cell phones, my son, who's been coming to camp for a long time, he was always excited to hand me his cell phone for a month, and which in any other month of the year would not be a thing. So it's a really good thing, and something that sets us is something that's really important for us.
Awesome. So our next slide just shows that and emphasizes that we are a 2 or 4 week session camp. Those 2 or 4 weeks goes very fast at camp because we keep everyone pretty busy. But this just allows more time for our campers and their peers to just establish a relationship and get to know each other really well. It gives us a little bit longer break from that digital world, so unplugged for a little longer. Just a sustained period of time away from home. I think it just helps with that independence and resilience for our campers. And it gives us all the time we need to make sure that we do have the opportunity to do all the programming and all the activities that camp has to offer.
Awesome. So I've talked a little bit about our values, but we are also teaching other skills. Whether it's on our wilderness trips or on our in-camp activities. A lot of folks, they learn how to, they learn to be outdoors people, outdoors men or women. They learn how to shoot a bow and arrow or maybe swim better. But the real thing is that those soft skills, those 6 C's that we say of communication, collaboration, cultural competency, creativity, and courage, and critical thinking. They use all of these in every aspect, and it just makes it's amazing to hear the stories of parents when they pick up their kids from camp and they've been home a week, and they send Amanda an email or give us a call and say, man, my son or daughter has just grown so much in the time that they were there. They're almost like different people, which is really, really cool.
Awesome. So Bill, tell us where we are.
So we are located in northern Michigan. The boys camp is on Torch Lake, which is north of Traverse City. You can see the top star there, and then the girls' camp is southeast of Traverse City, and they are on Arbutus Lake, which is also another beautiful lake in northern Michigan, and it's pretty cool to be up north. Is a good place to be in Michigan.
So a little bit about Girls Camp. Here is our dining hall. So this is one of the first buildings that you see as you drive in the driveway. We have about 130 acres. We're right on Arbutus Lake, about half a mile of lakeshore. We have about 22 cabins for our campers. And then we have this really neat facility. The old lodge was built in 1920, and it's now where we do arts and crafts, and we have a stage in there and some fun activities happens in there. But that's a really neat building as well. So the cabins, like I said, there are 22 cabins. They are open air cabins, and they are just single size bunks. So single size sheets for your beds. We also have divisions. So each division is separated by age group. So 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade will be in one area, and that's called Happy Hollow. And then we have the Hollow, the Thicket, and then our oldest campers are out in Niji. We have centralized showers and hot and cold running water, and certainly nice bathrooms, but they're not attached to the cabins. And then one thing I just want to throw out there: when you are packing for camp, make sure you bring some photos from home and maybe your favorite stuffed animal, so you've got some comforts from home as you're, when you stay at camp.
Oh, I think that's that did both slides. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So this is our famous look at our boathouse and beach. We have a wonderful piece of property on Torch Lake. We have over 10,000 feet of lake frontage. We have we have 20 cabins, some lodges, and a health center, just like Arbutus. Actually, our 2 health centers are identical. They were built in the same capital campaign. So we have many of the same procedures and the way we run our our infirmaries. We have these open air cabins. There's no electricity. This is actually a picture of one of cabin 11, which has been it was one of the first permanent cabins. There's bunk beds and you get real close, but it really makes a opportunity to create that cabin community. We recommend that we have centralized showers, just like Arbutus does, and you got to bring your own bedding, and lots of folks bring trunks or big Rubbermaid tubs to put all their clothes in. And I would also suggest you can kind of make your bed kind of neat, so you tape or pin some pictures up, and you'll get all of the details of what you need to bring in our parents pack information that you can get on our website, and we will actually also send that out to you.
Awesome. Okay, so what to expect on the first day? It can be a little bit overwhelming on that first day when you're driving in the driveway, especially if it is your first year. We want to make sure that we're welcoming you as best we can. We want to make sure that you know camp, you've met your counselors, you've met a division leader who oversees each program area, you've met me. Our health officer is also someone we'd love you to meet that first day. I also challenge everybody on that first day, and I know Bill will do it too, but we want to make sure that within that first hour, you've met someone and you know their names and you know something unique about them. And my challenge is that you know everybody in your cabin by dinner. So hopefully by dinner, you'll have 7 new friends and know something exciting about them. So we really want to make sure that that first day, your questions are answered. And as parents, you're welcome to come into camp and meet the counselors, help your camper move into their cabins. You can stay as long as you like, but don't stay too long, because we've got some fun activities and things to happen that day. And your camper will be off and running. So again, any questions and last minute things that you want to share with us on that day, we're all there, eager and excited to welcome everybody in.
Great. Our typical daily schedule, one of the highlights of camp is polar bear. Whether you're jumping into Arbutus Lake or Torch Lake, we start out the day with an optional jump in dip to start the day. And if you do it every day that you're on camp, you at Torch, you get the coveted polar bear t-shirt. I think you get a certificate at Arbutus. Then we go together as a cabin to breakfast and have cabin cleanup. Then we have our cabin activity time. These cabin activities are things that the cabin is doing together. It might be scheduled, or they might actually get to pick it. There are some things on our activity list, like preparing for their trip or doing team building, that are required, and we want to make sure everybody gets those things. Then we go to lunch and then rest hour. Everybody needs a little downtime, a little quiet time. And then we go to our instruction time, where campers get to choose what they're doing and get to focus on. So if they really love archery, or they really love high ropes, or they really love creative arts, then they can choose to do those things and spend a little more time and a little more intensity into those programs. Then we go to G-Swim. G-Swim is a free play time. It's not just swimming. So a lot of times the sailboats are out, and the canoes and kayaks. There's absolutely Foursquare going on, and tetherball, ping pong, and just people hanging out and talking. Arts and crafts and some of our other activities are open too. And that allows our campers to choose what they want to do. They can hang out with their friends. That free play is really important. It's, you know, our campers are so scheduled during with school and after school activities, and this is an opportunity for them to choose what they get to do. And sometimes it's hard for them, and it takes a while for them to get into that routine. Then we go to flag lowering and dinner. And then at the end of the night, we have usually a large group game or activity, whether it's a stand-up, sit-down campfire, or it's a game of smugglers and spies. And sometimes it's done at the division level, and sometimes it's done at the all-camp level. And then we go to showers and some talk time. It's called devotion at Arbutus, and it's called good of the house at Hayo-Went-Ha, and then it's lights out. And actually, up in northern Michigan, the sun doesn't go down till about 10 o'clock. So that's when we go to bed.
Awesome. It's a fun-packed day, that is for sure. So we have programming finishing 3rd grade all the way up to finishing the 11th grade. And every program, every age group does have a mix of that in-camp programming that we just mentioned, but also our wilderness adventure. We always want to make sure that the cabin group is forming a solid group and a solid bond, because when they are out on the trail, you've got to rely on each other and work together. And each cabin unit is 2 counselors and 8 campers. So that includes the staff. Next slide shows us a little bit about, well, I want to tell you a little bit about our trip program. We start finishing, 3rd grade. So that's an easy overnight at camp, on camp property at both our camps. And then as they get older, the camp program and the wilderness adventure program rather gets more challenging as the camper gets older, and they're of course longer in length. Sometimes they're a little further away. We think it's very appropriately challenging for that particular age group. It is a little hard, but I think once the kids get out there and the campers and the counselors get out there and they all work together and they successfully finish these wilderness adventure trips, it's such a bonding experience for them, and that shared venture really makes that solid group, that solid cabin group. We have trips all over national parks and state parks across Michigan and Southern Ontario. We also head out to Alaska for our oldest girls, and they literally hike a mountain out in Alaska. So lots of options, lots of programming. If you do want more information, there is specific information on our website about each trip, and you can also call Bill and I. We're happy to share that information as well. Wilderness adventure, we want to make sure that our campers are ready for this trip before they head off. So we go through all the equipment that they are using on their trip. We do some practicing with that equipment. We show them the maps and explain the itinerary, so everyone has their questions answered and everyone knows where they're going and what sort of trip it will be. And then we also want to make sure that we've taught all our campers the leave no trace principles. We want to make sure that we're leaving these national and state parks as neat and as tidy, if not better, than we found them. So leave no trace is important for us to make sure that we're following when we're out on the trail.
Our campers learn more than just there's this foundation with our wilderness trips and our in-camp activities. They learn to be more independent and more socially aware. And part of that is living and interacting with others. So they've got their cabin groups. They might have their skills groups. They are living in small quarters where, they might have their own room at home, but here they've got a room with 8 other people. And this is the foundation to creating young adults that are successful when they go off to college or move into independent living after high school or college. And so we are really trying to have this personal growth that happens. And we see that from when they are young campers to getting to older campers to our leadership programs. And then when they become staff and they want to, they have this social awareness that camp has a really unique thing that they bring. We also have some real focus on safety. And it's a safe place, not just physically. It's a safe place to mentally and emotionally. This doesn't always happen at school or at home. I don't know how many times Amanda and I have heard that camp is the place. This is a quote from a camper. Camp is the place I get to be who I really am. And, so it doesn't matter if you, where you come from or how you talk or any of those things. Everybody's dirty. Everybody's having a good time. Everybody goes through some trials and tribulation, and everybody makes some incredible memories. And so there's this thing that is really special about camp. We also feel like we are able to support the mental health of just being out in nature changes that brain chemistry, and you're able to connect with your outside world. You don't have the screen time that's happening, and that can really change the way you look at the world. And I know that I always feel better if I'm able to get outside. It makes a huge difference in the way that I look at the world.
Awesome. So just in regards to our cabin unit, like we mentioned, we do really emphasize that cabin group. And we do a lot of communication activities prior to that, initially in the first few days, just to really make sure that everyone is getting to know each other and working well together. We have some activities called low initiatives, which are communication games. We also do some ropes course and some climbing tower and some things that really help promote that support of each other. And I think this is really important, just not only at camp, that good communication, but out on the trip. It's always good to make sure that we're all working together as a team and getting the miles hiked and getting the canoes canoed. So communication is a big aspect that we really find important.
Great. So, camp is one of the things that is really important is we foster friendships. The friendship that happens between campers, they are making lifelong friends. And we have found that doing hard things safely is something that creates these incredible bonds with people. They talk about their shared experiences of losing a shoe in the mud, or the mosquito bites that they got, or the wonderful thing of portaging and feeling successful of portaging a canoe over some land so that they can and they work together as a team. And I actually gave a group of campers that went together back in the 90s. They went to Isle Royale together, and they wanted to know their itinerary again. So, and they all got together to go again as they were adults. And those friendships just last, are so special. And we hear it over and over. So that's something that's really important that we do. We create these friendships and an environment to have wonderful friends. We talked about our core values and the specialness of and being surrounded with nature. We go to some amazing places that not everybody gets to go. We go to a remarkable state and national parks here in Michigan. We go to provincial parks in southern Ontario, and it's pretty amazing. I didn't get to go to Pictured Rocks until I got to Michigan. Sleeping Bear Dunes is one of the most beautiful national parks in our country, and it's right in our backyards. So this foundation we are creating this love of the outdoors. We want to make outdoors people, outdoors men, outdoors women, that feel confident to be able to do those things with their family and friends as they get older.
Awesome. So we just wanted to share with you some of the locations that our campers come from. And I think even on our call tonight, we have a first-year camper from Mexico. So welcome. But yeah, lots of Midwest, of course, but lots of states are represented from our campers, and then some international campers, certainly from Mexico. But we do have some from Europe as well that do venture all the way over to Michigan to be at camp. And I think it just really does create that unique, diverse, and cultural environment or community. The other thing we want to share with you is the American Camp Association. It's something that Bill and I strive to do every year. It's just a nationally recognized best practices in the camping industry. It's about 360 standards that we follow annually. It's just our way of really making sure that we're providing a safe community and a safe environment for your camper.
So continuing on safety, our waterfront safety is really important. We are on these beautiful lakes. We take trips that around our all of the water that is around Michigan. And water safety is really important. So we have certified lifeguards that go on our trips, that are watching our water when we're doing G-swim or in the lakes. We have a tag in, tag out system, called the buddy board. And that allows us to know every camper that is in the lake, whether they're on a paddleboard or whether they're in the swim area or on a sailboat. We know where everybody is all of the time. And then, of course, when anyone is in a boat, whether it's a canoe or a paddleboard or a sailboat or a kayak, everyone always wears a life jacket or a PFD. So safety is really important to us, especially around the water.
So then our health centers, they are both the same at each camp. They were just built here in 2019. This is where all the medicine is administered by our camp health officer, who is on duty at all times. Any routine medication or anything that can be handled from our health center, we would do that from here. It also has some rooms in there that are nicely air conditioned if a camper isn't feeling very well. We are lucky that our locations, we are very close to medical facilities if we do need to venture off-site for medical care. And if we do that, we will make sure that we call you and that you are up to date with what is happening, what we're doing, and then you can certainly be part of that conversation and those decisions as well. But yeah, our health centers are nice and new, and when you're dropping off your camper, we invite you to go up to the health center and check in with our health officers and just share any information that they or we all need to know in regards to your child's care.
So food is an important part of camp. We eat 3 meals a day, and we spend a ton of time in the dining hall. And it is not just a place where we eat. It is a program space. We eat family style, so it's kind of like Thanksgiving dinner where you have to say, please pass that and refill this for the whole group. We have a friendly menu to kids. We make sure that there are the staples of spaghetti and pizza and chicken nuggets. But we also try and get them to try some new things like chicken shawarma or edamame or, those fun things that allow them to try new things. We also always have a salad bar at lunch and dinner and a cereal cereal and yogurt bar in the morning. No sugar cereals except on weekends. At least that's at boys camp. And then we also have a ton of fun. So there is music happening. There is one song that's sung by a certain individual that I think we break chairs every time it happens because people are standing on chairs and it's just so much fun and it's loud. So it's we have ditties where people stand up and they've got a chant that happens. We are also able to, there's so many different aspects to food and dietary needs. So we are gluten aware, we are nut aware and dairy aware. So if your child has a gluten allergy or a nut allergy, we know about those things and we're going to make sure that they're safe. We also have vegetarian options for those vegetarians. We're not, we don't do vegan, but we do vegetarian options. And if you have any, if you're particularly questions around food, I would encourage you to have an individual conversation with Amanda or I, and we will make those notes and do a good job of making those notes in your health forms and in the forms so that the kitchen gets those things. But if you have any concerns around food, that personal conversation to ask those questions are really important. And you can always, if there's a really restrictive dietary need, we can kind of work with you if you want to send some food to make sure that that we are meeting the needs of all of our campers.
So I want to just share with you some of the requirements of our role models or our staff, our cabin counselors and our staff in general. Each camp has about 80 staff. Everyone has to be 18 years or older or graduated high school, but the average age is about 19 to 20. We do all the required background checks, criminal background check. Also, we do some personal interviews. We either Zoom or meet in person, every one of our staff, to really get to know them and make sure that they're going to be the role models that we need when we do get them up to camp. We also do 3 reference checks and, of course, a driving check for anybody who will be driving. We have some drivers on staff that have been returning for years and years and years, and that's really nice too. But anyone who is going to be a driver will do a driving test and a background check as well.
We have a great, all of our staff do go through a staff training period. So whether they're an experienced staff or they are a new staff, we're going to be able to teach them really what to do to be the best counselor they can. They are gonna go through diversity training. They're gonna learn how to run archery, but they're also gonna learn how to help people make friends and how to deal with a camper that's feeling a little homesick, or how to deal with some conflict that's happening in a cabin. And so all of the experience that we do, aligning the kind of life at camp with what we train with. So we've got to do certain insurance things, but we also try and make it fun. We teach them the camp songs and how to do s'mores, and it's amazing how many some of our international counselors they get their first s'more during staff training. So we got to teach them how to make s'mores for their kids. So it's a really neat thing. They learn the traditions of camp and the stories that are told, and it's just a really good experience.
So while all the campers are at camp, do you want to talk about this one too? Sorry, I jumped.
I can. So we have lots of certifications that happen during staff training: American Red Cross lifeguarding, wilderness first aid. We have our scuba at the boys camp. They are PADI certified, bloodborne pathogens. And then for some of our trips that are a little longer, we actually have to have a wilderness first responder, which is actually a step up from that wilderness first aid. And so those certifications are really important.
So while your campers are at camp having all this fun and you're at home, we do have this really neat feature. It's called Bunk One. It is just a really good photo sharing website. So we update at least every other day, if not every day. So you can get a snippet of all the activities that are happening at camp and a little snippet of your camper having fun. We also encourage letter writing home. Ticket Tuesday or mail meal is Tuesday at Torch Lake, and we usually, well, we ask the campers to write home, so you get a handwritten letter. So make sure you pack some stamps and some envelopes and some letter writing stuff for the kids to write home. We also, through Bunk One, have this really neat opportunity of parents emailing their campers. So you can write an email through the Bunk One system. We print it out, put it in their mailbox, just like regular mail. You can also add a second sheet of paper where the camper writes back to you. It's not an email as such. They still have to write and say, hi, whoever at home, this is what's happening at camp. And then we scan that back to you, so you actually receive it as an attachment onto your email. So that's a really neat kind of back and forth, but definitely still pack letter writing gear as well. And then trip photos. It is really tricky to get you all trip photos from out in the fields, just because of where they are, and we can't like just log on and send you a photo. We do try and get some of those photos from our staff when they return and share those with you. We do have a progress report that we like to send to families, and we try to attach a photo, but trip photos are really tricky. So I would suggest that your camper brings a camera, maybe even a little disposable one, or just one that, can kind of go along with them and take their own photos. But yeah, we want to make sure that you know what's happening at home, so you can kind of see what's happening and seeing all the fun that everyone's having. So I think that's about it. We're happy to answer questions, but before we answer your questions, we've got some questions for you. Just a little quiz, like at the end of the lecture, we've got, see if you're listening. So our first question, this is probably a pretty easy one, but what lakes are our 2 camps on? So you can kind of chat amongst yourselves. We'll give you like, what, 20 seconds, Bill, and then we'll pop up the answers.
We're gonna go. The answer is Arbutus Lake and Torch Lake.
All right.
So really beautiful lakes. So the next question is, can anyone name, and this is just on your own, the 4 of the 7 core values of the Hayo-Went-Ha camps? I'll give you a hint: richer. See if you can get all of those. But most people can get at least 4 of the 7.
20 seconds here, Bill. What do you think?
No, we're going.
Nope, we're going.
So we've got respect, inclusion, caring, honesty, teamwork, environmental stewardship, and responsibility. And that spells richer.
All right, the next one, we've mentioned it when we were doing our waterfront slide, but how do we track our swimmers when they're in the water?
I think it's...
You ready? The buddy board.
All right, next one. What are some of the national parks that we go to? I think we mentioned them kind of offhand on our trips. This might be a trickier question. So we'll, I did mention one of them that's, I think, is one of the most beautiful. But Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore, Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore, and Isle Royal National Park are those that are in the US that we absolutely go to. But we go to some other really nice places like the Porcupine Mountains, Big Island Wilderness, and some of those are state parks.
All right, true or false? A camper is allowed cell phones at camp. Easy, easy.
False.
And I think this is our last one, right, Bill? What's our last question?
I think so. You got this one.
All right. What are ways parents can send you letters or notes to camp? So, of course, snail mail, and then our really neat bunk notes system. So
perfect.
Awesome. All right. Well, so from here,
we wanted to take the time to see if in the chat if you have any questions, or if you want to unmute, you can unmute yourself and ask a question. But we wanted to, if there was anything that you were kind of worried about or wanted to ask that question, then you can do that. You can either do it in the chat. We're kind of watching those things. Or you can unmute and just ask the question. I think the person has raised their hand with a whole bunch of emojis. I don't know who you can unmute.
There was one question, Bill, about day camp Zoom. Are we going to be doing one of these with
Yeah,
day
we're going
camp?
to be doing a day camp Zoom later on later on as we get more campers that are there, or we can set up an individual Zoom.
Okay. Okay, there in that me? You. Me.
So there's a question about laundry
You.
at camp, if you want to.
Okay, so laundry, we don't have laundry facilities at camp. We do ask that you pack for 2 weeks. If you are a 4-weeker at girls camp, we actually head in and do the laundry. It's a little bit of an outing, and we head off into town and do the laundry and maybe grab an ice cream along the way. And at Torch Lake, we actually have a service. So the laundry does get done every 2 weeks. So just, and that's all on the packing list as well, to just make sure that you're packing enough for 2 weeks.
Someone asked what the original name of Hayo-Went-Ha. Do you want to take that one, Amanda?
No.
So
I'd say the name wrong.
it was named after Hiawatha, and it was kind of misspelled, and they kind of changed it into Hayo-Went-Ha. So it doesn't have any sort of meaning, but we've had this name for a really long time. So that's kind of what we do. How many people are on the individual camping trips? So they're one cabin group. They are typically typically 8 campers and 2 counselors. Though we might have more than one trip going out. So for example, Man and I just did the permits this morning for the girls' camp to go to Killarney, and we had to do 3 different trips. So we'll have 3 different cabin groups going to Killarney, but they all have a different route. They might see each other, but they have their individual experience with the 8 campers and 2 staff.
I've been answering some of these questions.
Okay.
Angelina, you mentioned like what time during the 2 weeks is your trip. Just let us know what program your child is doing, and we've got a trip schedule, so we can kind of tell you when, or we can tell you when that trip is scheduled throughout that 2 weeks. And then Elder has a question in regards to being in a separate cabin to his twin. So
it depends. You might be in the same cabin, or you might be in a different cabin. So sometimes when we have extra cabins, so when we have cabins of more than one in one program, if you want to be with your brother, you can request and you can be in the same cabin. Or if you don't want to be with your brother, you can request and not be in your cabins. But if there's only one cabin, then you will be with your brother. Someone asked about kind of the religious aspects, religious teachings at camp. So we go to chapel. We are a YMCA with Christian principles. We really focus on our core values of building better people, and part of our mission is for all. But we do go to chapel every Sunday, and that chapel is typically based on our core values. We have different songs that we sing. There is a message that's given. So it's kind of a soft teaching. We also have in devotion and good of the house, there are religious conversations that sometimes come up. I can remember doing a devotion, and we had, because we're for all, we had in the cabin, we had a Jewish camper, a Catholic camper, a Protestant camper, and a Muslim camper, and they were having interfaith dialogue, and these guys were 11. And I was like, that's so cool. There are opportunities to do that, but we really focus on our core values: caring, honesty, respect, responsibility, inclusion, teamwork, and environmental stewardship. Those are kind of our base principles. Let's see. There's a packing list on our website. You'll also get that if you go to the parent resources on our website. Our packing lists are there. And then you will also be getting it in your you'll also be getting it in your parent pack that we send out.
I just added a link to the website where all the packing lists are as well. So.
Some advice for first-time campers. You want to take that one, Amanda?
Yeah, I actually just replied
Okay.
into your chat, but Natalie, if you just want to ask lots of questions, check out our website for lots of resources. I don't know where you're located, but we do have these virtual open houses, but actually in person. So check our website to see if we're coming to a town near you. That just will allow you to meet some other kids and some other staff that you might then also be able to see in the summer. So that will help. And depending on what program you are and where you are, we might be able to connect you with some friends, that you'll make at camp even before you come to camp, so that will help get you all excited and prepared for the summer.
So someone asked, do first-time campers have an older camp buddy? Well, their older camp buddy is absolutely their camp counselor. They will make sure that they are making those 7 or 8 new friends that in their cabin. There is also kind of an unofficial thing that happens with at G-Swim, where older campers are kind of take younger campers under their wings. They know that there is if there's someone looking a little lost or down, a lot of our campers can remember being a ranger or a woodsman and how that felt. And it's really cool to see a 15-year-old guy sit down next to a 10-year-old that's having a little hard day, and they start playing cards and connect. And that's just a really special thing because they just care for each other. And so that's something that's really special. Amanda, there's a birthday at girls camp question.
Yes, quite possibly. If you want to give her a quick call, you certainly can. We have great birthday traditions. If it is your birthday, we have at least 200 people singing happy birthday to you. There could be a huge dessert bowl as on your table with your cabin as part of the birthday treat. And there could even be a hat involved as well. So birthdays are pretty fun. Camp birthdays are actually really fun.
And at boys camp, a lot of times we do birthday pancakes that are specially made. So we're the first ones to do birthdays. We also encourage, sometimes there is a care package of homemade baked goods that comes from the parents, and so they can share that during rest period. So that's kind of a fun thing too. And of course, lots of singing.
Yep. Great. All right. Hopefully we've answered all these questions. Of course, if there's any others and we didn't answer them, or you think of some more once we've finished our presentation, please feel free to give us a call. The next slide actually has our emails again, and you can always call our head office. But we're happy to talk about camp anytime. We're super excited to see everybody. And hopefully this winter storm will go through, and it won't be long before it's sunny and warm and we're all up at camp.
So we're gonna, so that's the end of our program for now. We are gonna stick on, Amanda will stick on for just a few more minutes if you have a personal question, or of course you can shoot us an email or give us a call and have a personal conversation with us. But thank you for coming tonight, and have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. See you soon.
Are you guys gonna have another virtual? Sorry, I missed the Eastern time, so I came late.
Yeah, and we are
Okay.
on our website. We have 2 more, and if you
Perfect.
go to our events page, you'll see them there.